Hello and welcome to a Star Citizen Persistent Universe monthly report, looking at highlights of what Cloud Imperium games have been working on over the last 8 or so weeks and what they are focused on now in Star Citizen's Persistent Universe for January 2023. This is an extra meaty report, as we didn't have a report last month, with extra attention being spent on looking at new ships, locations, gameplay features, and missions. It appears that there are many new ships and vehicles coming. The US ship team have made the finishing touches to the Drake Corsair, and they moved on to the white box stages of 2 new vehicles. One of them, they brainstormed several options for entering and exiting. White box began on a new vehicle as well. The UK team completed their pass on the salvage feature, ensuring all major visual and gameplay issues were resolved for ship exteriors. They then began work on the Crusader Spirit, which is currently progressing through the white box phase. They said the biggest challenge has been ensuring that the escape raft on the VIP variant is fully functional at this early stage, so they can avoid extra work in the future. The bulk of the white box work was also completed for an unannounced vehicle, and development began on an all-new small ship. Loads of new ships and vehicles there. I'm sort of super excited to see what they are later in the year. The vehicle feature team worked on porting the transit system to Alpha 3.18's new persistent tech system. Most recently, they allowed trains to slow down and wait for transit ahead of them on the track. This should fix issues with trains overlapping and is a much welcome improvement. They have new tools to see how each thruster on a ship gets used and then make necessary changes to get ships to fly how they want. Tech Art completed a dirt wear pass for all cockpit glass to ensure the pilot's vision isn't obscured. A similar pass for turret glass is planned for a future update. The graphics team delivered mesh tagging and enabled new damage shaders for salvage. They completed and fixed the Drake Corsair and Cutter while improving the ship. They also further developed the Misk Hull Seas interior walkway animation with syncs with the exterior hull transformation animation. The final walkway will be a skinned asset with 10 sliding rings connected by a stretchy tubing. Let's take a look at more work focused on locations and environments now. The EU Locations 1 team continued working on the rundown Pyro Station, Ruin Station, with more designers now on the team. They made great progress on the layout of each room, and they are currently exploring interesting gameplay options across the location. EU Locations 2 worked alongside the US-based PU team to add new cargo elevators into existing hangars, which will be used during the updated cargo gameplay. Pre-production of the local law office location began, which will be essential for several upcoming gameplay loops. They also worked on the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo and the new player experience, the latter of which involved improving existing landing zones for new visitors. EU Sandbox 2 worked on further exploration and experimentation for the underground facilities. They also finished the Sand Caves visual target, worked to set the benchmark for rock caves in the Persistent Universe, and began looking into improving and adding to Microtech's forests. Narrative spent time updating some of the detailed planetary conditions, such as temperature and atmospheric content, for upcoming star systems to more closely align with the intended gameplay and solar positioning. The planetary tech team focused on polishing river tech and improving resource streaming performance with a new and more aggressive threading model that guarantees a stalled-free experience. Additionally, maintenance was done to stabilize the Rastar tool, which is going to be used eventually to allow for players to build bases, but is currently used for CIG to place sort of outposts and structures. More recently, work began on asteroid sign distance field tech. They also began progressing with hardware-assisted terrain instancing for additional CPU optimizations. There are various other optimizations they're working on, including water simulation models for water object interactions and generally being able to make terrain render faster and more efficiently. The Interactables team continued their work on Pyro, creating more advanced and unique assets, including stalls that can be found in the rundown stations. Prototyping continued on deployables, with the team saying, "These assets take a long time to figure out and overcome unforeseen challenges that are presented by other teams to ensure that they don't hinder gameplay." They made some fixes for the current in-game coffee machines. Soon players will be able to take select cups to these machines and have infinite cups of coffee. Progress was also made on a new template for an asset that will be integral to bounty hunting, which is running alongside Environment Art's bounty hunting office. They also started pre-production on lootable content, including improving the current loot pool. The lighting team completed day and night lighting passes for the time trial racetracks. They also continue to improve all lighting aspects of the colonial outposts. This involves a lot of interior and exterior work to ensure that they fit the environment and create the intended cold or cozy feeling within the buildings. After small changes were made to the Jumptown's dynamic event, a lighting pass was also done on a few areas to bring them back up to the current standard and ensure that the new additions fit the existing theme. So this is obviously Jumptown 2.1, which is going to be run at some point during the 3.18 cycle, doubling the size of each of the Jumptown locations and putting sort of 2 dispensaries in there as well. Should make the event a lot bigger. VFX began to plan for the overwhelming but necessary restructuring of their generic effects libraries. These libraries contain the most commonly used effects, including smoke, steam, and sparks, and have become too bloated over the years. In the months ahead, the team will be reducing the number of individual effects living in the libraries while making visual improvements as they go along. Let's move on to gameplay and features. Gameplay features team. They worked on hull scraping for Alpha 3.18, including reacting to feedback on Spectrum and the issue council, adjusting gameplay to match the goals for the first iteration of Salvage, but also obviously including that feedback. Additionally, Filler Station's functionality was expanded to allow players to create several useful items for hull scraping in the forms of crafting multi-tools and attachments at the cost of salvage materials at those stations in the Reclaimer and the Vulture. They continued with the resource management systems, including life support and artificial gravity. This included a redesign of the previous engineering UI, last seen at CitizenCon, to give a clearer, more modern design to support the vast amount of functionalities that will be expected. The groundwork began for vehicle tractor beams. The next steps will be creating the tractor beam UI and expanding the feature to support its proper functionalities. The mining update continued with changes made to the Argo Mole and Misk Prospector to create bigger differences between the individual and multiplayer aspects. The first rebalancing pass was done for all mining heads, sub-items and gadgets to support the updated approach to resource distribution. This involves new variances for minables to ensure they're distributed in a more controlled fashion throughout Stanton and support future crafting releases. Mission features improved and fixed various aspects of 3.18's missions and gameplay. For Security Post Korea, the team addressed an issue with a secret item not working correctly. They also changed the way the datapad on the security chief spawned and adjusted the turrets as they were respawning too quickly. The trespass timer length was also increased. Narrative began planning new mining and salvage missions, which will help expand the career choices available through the contract manager. Work also continued on investigation missions, with several new mysteries for players to solve being developed. Additionally, the team discussed sandbox mission content, where players will encounter missions in the universe without accepting a specific contract beforehand. The character and weapons feature team added support for tractor beams snapping boxes onto cargo grids. This included a holographic preview to assist with the moving of the loot into a ship. They also revisited the feature behind dragging an unconscious body into a medical bed. This is being made more generic so that bodies can be placed into other appropriately sized objects. As part of this, several improvements are being made to the flow itself to make it more robust and forgiving. Animation shot motion capture for some background character animations that will be used in the persistent universe. Tech Animation have been working through head assets that will be added to the game and facial customization systems. Character art finished work for their Frontier workwear outfits and Frontier undersuits. Character concepts work on exploration with Flora and the Duster faction continued. The Arena Commander features team worked on the classic race refactor, including taking the Snake Pit, Euterpe Icebreaker, and Miner's Lament courses to play-testable states. A refactor of the Racing Manager and checkpoint system has begun. There are loads of further optimizations planned for racing, including holographic checkpoints updates and directional arrows for each track. They're working on the older race courses that are part of Arena Commander as well, or Vanderval, etc. Getting those up to date. But it looks like they're also bringing the new Persistent Universe races into Arena Commander. Investigation then began into adding turrets to the Jericho Station and Dying Star maps to either assist or hinder the player in Vandal Swarm and Pirate Swarm game modes. They're also working on taking locations from the Persistent Universe into Arena Commander and sort of ways of doing that more easily. Their team supported the soft death and destruction feature. They worked on improvements to Arena Commander and Star Marine game modes in general as well. They are able to ban or allow vehicles and weapons in each game mode super easy now. This system provides great customization for developers, such as setting up a new mode that only allows for certain vehicles. And this is used in 3.18 during the filtered duel mode, Squadron Battle, and Battle Royale to only allow small and medium combat ships. The first pass on the new death cameras, which point to the player that killed you while moving and zooming dynamically, was submitted and enabled for all game modes too. Work was submitted for an unannounced update to a classic Arena Commander mode, which will be further detailed in the coming months. For the engine side of things, lots of engine improvements were made by the physics team. The Gen 12 renderer is now enabled by default in 3.18. This is a major milestone, and Vulkan will be enabled in the not too distant future as well. CPU cores and threads are being much better utilized. Better atmosphere and volumetric clouds are also being worked on too. Boom! That's it for your monthly report for January 2023, sort of incorporating the November and December monthly reports with all the stuff that Cloud Imperium are working on at the moment. We will be getting a roadmap update on the 8th of February 2023 that will delve a lot deeper into what Cloud Imperium are working on for the first 2 quarters of 2023 and the deliverables for that, and assumedly what's happening with 3.19, but also what the tone and plans for the year are more generally, and how viable a target of 4.0 by the end of the year with server meshing and pyro and jump points in is. Is it just a sort of super hope, or is it something that is entirely viable? Because last time Cloud Imperium talked about it, Chris Roberts said, yeah, we're going to try and do that, but there's lots of pitfalls that could sort of happen along the way. Some of the devs then on Spectrum have said it's a very viable target for 4.0 by the end of the year. But again, yes, there could be problems and pitfalls. But even if we take into account some of them, we'd still get 4.0 in. It's just if lots of things hit us, then we wouldn't be able to. But what do you think? Are you excited to see some of this work completed and hopefully get implemented in the game soon? What do you think the new ships and vehicles that Cloud Imperium are working on are? Are you looking forward to the resource management system coming later this year, or at least the first implementation of that? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Also, I'll be getting a video done on the Squadron 42 report and potentially AI updates separate to that as well, though I might incorporate them both together, but that will be going out later this week, so look out for those. It's a new year, time for resolutions, a brighter future. I'll make myself better each day. Or I could just stay at home and play computer games. But what if someone steals my house or bank while I'm otherwise preoccupied on the internet? NordVPN.com/BoredGamer. It's probably the best VPN deal of 2023 already. Not only does it provide security, anonymity, and accessibility on the interwebs, but I haven't heard of anyone with NordVPN having their house stolen. Thanks, NordVPN. Now no one will know what type of degenerate anime I watch. Get NordVPN, you filthy animal. You deserve it. Every month we have a ship giveaway. For January, we are giving away an Argo Raft, the reinforced advanced freight transport ship, a dedicated cargo hauler that should see some additional gameplay in 2023. This also comes with a Star Citizen game package and lifetime insurance. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during the month. More details in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, then please consider becoming a YouTube member with the join button under my videos. You could even become a Patreon. There's links below to that. But liking, subscribing, commenting goes a huge way to help the channel grow. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the verse.